So now please turn to your workbook, and I've just removed this page from the workbook. This is page 43, okay, and it should say at the top, additional practice 1-7. We're going to do the very first 3 exercises, which are all based on these diagrams. Now you'll notice that on these two, I've actually copied over the pre-image here. So let's read the instructions. The figure in the plane at the right shows the pre-image in the transformation of ABCD to A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. Match the number of the image below with the name of the correct transformation. Okay, so we've got images numbers 1, 2, and 3, and we've got the pre-image over here, which is number 1. So let's call this our pre-image, and these are our images. So what I've done where I could was I copied the pre-image in blue onto the images so we could actually compare them side by side. Let's take a look at number 1, the first image. So is this a rotation, a translation, or a reflection? Let's zoom in really close. Okay, so the pre-image is in blue. This is what we started with, was A, B, C, D, and this is what we ended up with, which is using the prime notation, A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. So how did we get from here to here? Well, notice that the orientation of the points are the same. Okay, we're starting always with A in the upper left-hand corner in both, and then going clockwise, we go through B, C, and D. The orientation is not changed, which means there's no rotation or reflection, and this is a pure translation. So in other words, it's as if we just took this box here and we slid it along parallel to the x-axis to this position here. In fact, how far did we slide it? We can actually count. We slid it 1 box, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we slid it 4 boxes horizontally to the left, and then the 2 overlap. Let's look at number 2 next. Now, if you notice, the pre-image here is lying right on top of the image here. So we can't, I can't really draw one on top of the other. But what I can do is I can cut out the pre-image. That's what I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to cut it out so that we can put it right next to image 2. And maybe we can see more clearly what's going on and what transformation is happening. So let's go back to 2, and this is our pre-image. I'll just slide it below. Okay, so let's compare them top to bottom, and let's see what's happening. Okay, so we had our, get this just lined up. Okay. So obviously there's no translation, right? It hasn't actually moved anywhere, so we couldn't have translation. But let's see, how did we get from this pre-image to this image here? Take a moment and think about what might have happened. Well, if it's not a translation, then it's either a rotation or a reflection. So is there some way we can make this into a reflection? Let's think if we can. Well, this doesn't look like a mirror, right? If this was if the reflection was across a horizontal line, the A should be here, the B should be here, but we've got an A and a B and an A and a B. So in this direction, it doesn't look like a reflection. Let's try to see if we can see maybe it's a reflection across this direction, across a vertical mirror. Well, imagine if there's a vertical mirror here. Well, we're having the same kind of problems here. C isn't across a C, it's across a B, and B is across a C. So it's really kind of hard to figure out how this could be a reflection. It doesn't look like a reflection. Well, that only leaves us with rotation. So let's see if there's a way we could rotate the pre-image so that we end up with the same orientation of points that we have in number 2. I'm just kind of rotating it around. Let's look at this rotation here. I rotated it 25 degrees clockwise, and the orientation does not match up. Let's keep rotating it. Now I've rotated it 180 degrees, and let's compare the orientation of this pre-image with number 2. The lower right-hand corner is A. The lower right-hand corner is A. The lower left-hand corner is B. That matches up. The upper left-hand corner is C. That matches up. And the upper right-hand corner is D. Okay, so if we rotate the pre-image 180 degrees, we get the image. So therefore, this one is a rotation. Okay, and we said the first one was the translation. And now let's go on to our third and final problem here. In this case, I was able to write the pre-image in blue. So I think if you look at this, well, we know the answer has to be reflection because it's the only choice left. But it is a reflection. It looks exactly the way a reflection would look. If I go ahead and I draw a line of reflection along the y-axis, like so, okay, you'll see that it's like a mirror. A and A, D and D, and the same thing with B and C. They're all looking at their reflections in the mirror. It's also interesting to note that the distance between A in the mirror, which is 1 unit, is exactly the same as the distance between its reflected image A prime in the mirror, which is 1 unit. The distance between D in the mirror is 1. D prime in the mirror is 1. The distance between B in the mirror is 1, 2, 3. The distance between B prime in the mirror is 1, 2, 3. And the same thing for C and C prime. C is 1, 2, 3 away from the mirror, and C prime is 1, 2, 3 away from the mirror. That is always the case in a reflection. The points of the image and the points of the pre-image are always the same distance from the mirror, except they are on opposite sides of the mirror.